Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to Pop Culture. Got my boy Clint here. Yeah, that's right, and we are just too sweet.
How's it going, Will? How was your weekend, man?
Man, you know what? Very busy, incredibly busy getting what we need to get together, brother.
Exactly. Did you partake of what 99% of Americans did and watch the Super Bowl? Because I didn't.
Well, oh my God, brother. Not, me and a lady friend of mine were actually watching the Super Bowl, but then when the halftime show came up, I got up to make damn tacos and stuff, and that's when I turned around. I seen the great Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
Exactly.
Very great entrepreneur, and the guy is just amazing, in putting the beats and the sounds together and whatnot. It was great to see him again after the trials and tribulations he went through, in terms of his personal situation, the divorce, and that sort of thing. So I wasn't too impressed with it.
No.
I was expecting something more for some reason.
It's not going to be like in my opinion, one of the greatest halftime shows ever, Prince, who is the GOAT.
Yeah,
you ain't going to get any better than Prince.
I'll tell you right now that I feel that that Prince, his halftime show was, and who wants to argue this fact that It was the greatest ever seen?
I mean, he is the greatest musician that ever lived, flat out. And, it's, I mean, I read a story, or watched a thing on Dr. Dre was being interviewed. He's like, yeah, we got there early and, because he's, going through conditioning and he's got a personal trainer. He's like, I really wanted Burger King, so I said, screw it. I just went to McDonald's and said I couldn't get enough of them fries. I'm like, that's classic Dr. Dre, man. But no, I was at the gym. I watched some of the halftime show, and I just it's. I'm still waiting for Metallica. That's the one I'm waiting for. But yeah, man. I noticed you have a Von Erich shirt on today.
Yeah,
That's one of the things.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we were going to actually talk about today.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about in our wrestling segment of this show, we were going to cover the Von Erichs, okay, and what they contributed to professional wrestling. And they're probably to me, a lot of people might not agree with this, but to me, they're one of the greatest wrestling families that had ever got into the business, period.
You cannot mention royal wrestling families, the Hart family, the Rhodes. You cannot mention royal families of professional wrestling without the Von Erichs. Fritz Von Erich, may he rest his soul. Without a doubt, WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. I mean, it just, you cannot talk about great families, without mentioning the Von Erichs, like David, Kevin, Kerry, Chris. I mean,
Yeah, let's not forget Mike. Mike, okay. Now, we're on the subject of the Von Erich family and their legacy. So to me, I had seen many documentaries on the Von Erichs. I mean, you got Dark Side of the Ring. You got Kevin, I want to say Kevin did his own documentary
He did.
on his family. And then I think David Manning, that was one of the referees. I think him and Mickey Grant that ushered in that whole world-class era did the I think they had gotten together and did their own take on the Von Erich legacy and the world-class legacy, in a whole. And I kind of feel that enough of that story has not been told because you just never get tired of watching it. I mean, you go into YouTube and then you're looking at it like, wow, oh, okay, another Von Erich documentary. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, you can't go enough. I mean, like even in the WWE, the curse of WCCW, it's like Triple H said, he's like, I think it's silly to say it was a curse because of all the tragedy. But like, when it started with the Von Erichs' youngest brother when he was a kid, and then David overseas.
Jack Atkinson Jr.
Yeah.
I think he was what, 5 or 6 or something like that. And
it was, I from what Kevin said, that made Fritz just flip. It just, you can't picture watching, discovering your own child, you know what I mean? And
oh man.
And like David Von Erich, that one, I mean, just because his insides basically exploded.
Yeah, they said there was a lot of mystery surrounding David Von Erich's death.
And they say he was his body was found in a position where he was grabbing for the phone. Like, so he knew something was up, but then before he unfortunately passed, I mean, what could have happened with the Von Erichs had they had not, taken their own lives? And unfortunately with David, I mean, just because I remember as a kid watching Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado, I'm like, man, the claw that dude, like, man, he just, I mean, who knows what could have happened?
Well, I mean? Yeah. Now, Kerry. Okay, Kerry, out of all of the Von Erichs. Okay, now each of the Von Erichs brought something different.
Exactly.
To the whole world-class championship wrestling dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you had Kevin. Kevin was the oldest brother, which a lot of people don't know. That Kevin was the second to Jack Jr.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so David came along, and then Kerry, out of all of them, was the baby.
Chris was the baby.
Well, yeah. Well, at that time. Yeah, at that time, it was Kerry. Kerry was the baby. So, as Kevin put it, it was, well, Dad had his first favorite, second favorite. Yep. I fell somewhere in the middle. and he said, yeah, I'll go for number 2. Yeah. I mean, as Kevin put it, number 2 was a good spot. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
and it's interesting because like, I'm between me and my oldest brother in Boston. I'm the youngest, so I know.
Okay.
Like, and Chris Von Erich, being the youngest, I think his story is a little more. It almost kind of hits me right in the heart. You know what I mean? Because he was the youngest. He looked up to his brothers. He wanted to be in pro wrestling, but like as Kevin said, the medication he was taking, prednisone, and then he was in a match and his arm
broke. Yeah, he broke his arm or something. Yeah,
and he wanted to keep wrestling. That's all he wanted to do. And Kevin pulled him, tagged him, and I think that was just tragic because it's like all he wanted to do was be in the wrestling business. That's it. And then when Kevin he saw him, Chris said, "You found my note, didn't you?" And then he goes back. It was a suicide note, and and apparently Kevin brought his mom with him to find Chris. And I was like, I couldn't even imagine being the mother. I like, what would you like? You see your son commit suicide. Like, I couldn't even imagine that.
Well, those particular deaths were brought on because there was a lot of pressure.
Yes.
It was a tremendous amount of pressure in Texas.
Yes.
Okay, being
Texas pride,
being who they were.
Yeah.
Because as it has been often put, the Von Erichs were folk heroes in Texas. And, up there in Lake Dallas, Texas, and whatnot, they were gods.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they even did a pizza commercial,
Oh, yeah, you seen that one?
I've seen that. Yeah. Oh, these are for Dad. It's like I guess like I thought you were full. Well, you'll save them for later,
Oh man,
like Mike Von Erich is another one where I'm just kind of like, they even said he should not have been in the wrestling biz. because after
Yeah.
he tore his shoulder and he almost died. They returned to the Cotton Bowl and they built it up and built it up. They're like, oh my God, Mike Von Erich's returning. He's coming back. It wasn't Erich.
Yeah,
It just
that was after that toxic shock
syndrome.
syndrome.
Yep.
And you know what? I was watching that. I think I was 16, maybe 15, when Mike actually had fallen sick, because it was all over. It was all over. I mean, it was on even national TV programs.
Yeah. I believe TBS was the main one that covered that whole thing too.
Yeah.
Because at that time, TBS, Turner ruled television. TBS was, especially like NBC, CBS, ABC. Those were those stations. Ted Turner was the one that run TBS. I mean, he ran like in TNT, all that. He was the man of television.
Oh, right.
I mean, it's. Do I think Mike Von Erich tried it? He did. Like, Kevin was the athlete, Kerry was the strength, and Mike was just there. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good technical wrestler, but nothing like star power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I seen. I used to watch a few of Mike Von Erich's matches, and this was around the time that the Jim Crockett Promotions was really going hot and heavy. And I was always expecting Mike to, kind of come out of that shell and get better and shine. But
unfortunately,
he was not. I think Bill Mercer, the announcer for World Class, used to often say that Mike would have been rather doing something else. And, and then Kevin had actually said in an interview, he was like, well, you know what, everybody thought, big mean old Fritz, wanted his sons to wrestle and things like that and made us do it. And really, Kevin said that Fritz didn't make us wrestle. We wanted to wrestle. Yeah. And I believe that statement.
Every kid, every boy he looks up to his dad and wants to,
Right.
I mean, it's like when you say Kevin, that's because I've gone to thousands of met thousands of wrestlers, meet and greets. I've met Kevin Von Erich is the one I definitely want to either interview or I want to see, meet in person, have a meet and greet.
Oh, well,
I would love to.
Kevin, if you are watching this, we would love to interview you. We would love to have you on this.
It'd be an honor to have you, bro.
Absolutely, man. We would love to have you because hell, I'll even say this. Now, I'm a former professional wrestler, and I'll tell you, what made me want to wrestle, and the hottest time that wrestling, especially between 80 and 84, World Class was hot. And I will say I was such a mark for World Class Wrestling because they were revolutionary. They were going against the grain. And even though they were part of the National Wrestling Alliance, World Class, man, you could just tell they were different from everybody else. Even the look.
Yeah.
Even the look. I mean, they took you in the ring. And you can hear the
bumps,
hits,
everything. Yeah,
the hits, the bumps, the chops.
Yeah,
you can hear everything. I mean, and I would love to have one of the survivors of World Class actually on this program. Just to pick their brain. What was it like?
Exactly. Like I want to know when they got signed. To their first match, to the locker room when they walked out, when they went into the ring, when they I'd love to know everything that was going through their head at that time. I mean, I was watching on WWE Network on Peacock, some old WCCW.
Okay,
like King Kong Bundy had hair.
Yeah, and actually, quite actually, Bundy was the bad guy.
Yeah.
In Fritz Von Erich's last match. like ever.
Oh, I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
He was the one. He was the one that actually was the main bad guy in this movie. Let's just say it. He was the main bad guy in this movie for Fritz's retirement.
Oh, okay. I remember
because I think he won the American heavyweight championship.
Yeah. I remember the movie that it was Fritz von Erich was it? Yeah. Now I remember you said something about it. Yeah.
And it was at not Reunion Arena. It was at not the Cotton Bowl. It was at shoot.
You have to Google that, man.
Yeah, Dallas. I think where the Dallas Cowboys played. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to Google that.
Yeah, it's where Kerry Von Erich beat Ric Flair
for the belt
on May 6th. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because there was a big mail. Yeah, I remember that now. And then one of the storylines in WCCW where people were so into the Von Erichs, Fritz Von Erich's fake heart attack. A lot of people were pissed about it.
Oh, man. It was so many things. That's when you knew it was going down the tubes.
Yeah, because you got to remember, like, you're 10 years older than me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so at that time, I'm just a pup watching this. Like,
man,
so I don't have much of a...
Oh, man. Man, you missed one of the greatest... Look, let me tell you how hot wrestling was. Okay, so from... Now, I watched it with my grandma.
Right.
Okay. And there's a story behind my grandmother and professional wrestling and how it was always connected to me. But I'll get back to that in a few minutes. But from 78 all the way till late 84, early 85, wrestling was so hot. It was red hot. But I guess from 85, from the first WrestleMania, which, by the way, I watched the other night, the whole Hogan and Mr. T thing.
There's Piper and Paul Orndorff.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Oh, man. You know what? You could not get any hotter and have wrestling on the national stage than that. Yeah. But those are the years wrestling was really hot, man.
Because that, like, you got to remember, I was born in 80. So everything, like, even to, like, I want to say maybe 2005, 6.
Okay.
I mean, it was hot, like the days of the NWO for life, I mean, I was in high school at that time. Like, so that was like, I was saying like what hot periods of wrestling. It's like I said, for me, I mean, I remember vaguely watching it on TBS with my oldest brother. And, I vaguely remember the WCCW logo and all. I mean, like I said, I was just a kid, so I mean, it was, but I do remember, even, I had little action figures of the Fabulous Freebirds, Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy. I mean, I had those action figures.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you know what? I couldn't even find those.
Yeah, I don't know, like, because Terry Gordy, I mean, he was all in his, like,
Now, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, okay, now we're
really
we're really getting deep into the whole world-class era.
Yes.
Okay, so when I said that from 78 all the way until 84, 85, wrestling was really hot. You have to include one of the greatest feuds that the professional wrestling industry had ever seen. You could go and name anybody. Okay, you can go and name anybody that had great feuds.
Yeah.
But the greatest feud, and it still stands today, because when you watch it, you're like, oh shit, is this a shoot?
Yeah. Like, do they really hate each other? Yeah.
Von Erichs and Freebirds.
Yeah.
The first night in Oklahoma that the Von Erichs faced the Freebirds, it sold out. First night.
Wow.
Nobody even knew about this angle, but the powers that be in the back.
Yeah.
But when they put them in a 6-man match together, it was the hottest thing ever. And that boiled over into them being friends in Texas. And then you remember the infamous match? Ric Flair, Kerry Von Erich in a cage, and Terry Gordy. Okay, Michael Hayes is a special guest referee.
Yeah.
So now, it was the Von Erichs and Freebirds. They were supposed to be friends, and they were running together and all that stuff. Now, this is a real-life friendship because even till this day, Michael Hayes is anytime he's interviewed about the Von Erichs and whatnot, Michael Hayes says that David was they were all best friends.
Right.
So the feud worked because they were best friends. So here you go with Kerry Von Erich versus Ric Flair in his stop through in Texas. Kerry Von Erich, what kicked off the Freebird Von Erich feud was one thing. And it was something that I said till this very day was one of the greatest things I ever seen. Terry Gordy's outside, right? Mm-hmm. He's the outside enforcer. Michael Hayes starts pushing Kerry around saying, hey, pin Ric Flair, because I guess Hayes knocked out Flair.
Right.
So Michael's like, hey, pin him. And he's pushing Kerry to pin him. And Kerry's like, doing the Texas thing.
Sure, yeah.
No, we got to win fair and square.
Yeah.
And Michael's like, man, screw you. And Terry Gordy's like, hey, Michael, screw him, man. Hey, Michael, let's go, man. Let's go. So Michael leaves the cage. Kerry's trying to plead with Michael Hayes, like, hey, what's going on? And Michael's like, get away from me. So he walks out of the cage. And Terry Gordy, in my opinion, was the greatest big man that ever set foot in wrestling. So Michael Hayes leaves. There's Terry Gordy. And Terry Gordy, before he leaves, Kerry is trying to reach for Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes leaves the cage. Terry Gordy is getting ready to leave, and he turns around and he's like, I forgot something. Boom! Hits Kerry. He hauls off and slams the cage door against Kerry's head, knocks Kerry out. Rick gets the pin, and that kicks off the Von Erich Freebird feud for 4 years.
I'm gonna have to look that match up of the
dude. That's what kicked it off. And I was such a fan of this, man. I'm like, I gotta get in this business.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah, gotta see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. It's just we can talk about WCCW. I mean, literally for hours.
Oh my God, man!
Like that's the thing. Is like back then, it will never be. From like as you said, 78 to May 2006, 2007, wrestling will never be the same.
No, it won't.
And like they're pushing so many. Like you can definitely tell the landscape's changed because now I can't even talk today. WrestleMania main event maybe a couple years ago was the first time women were in the main event of WrestleMania. Women's wrestling got pushed so high. I mean, you can definitely tell the landscape has
actually changed a little.
And
yeah,
I mean, it's I think it's a good thing, and I think it's we're definitely looking at they're not called divas anymore. They're called superstars, just like everybody else.
Yeah,
and that was one of the things. Like it's really it started with Sunny, the original diva, like, but then you get all these stars like that come up like Medusa, wonderful lady, by the way. I met her in Indiana.
Oh, you met Medusa?
Yeah, we were in an elevator. We're going up to the hotel, and I turned to look, and there's Medusa. I'm like, "What's up, Medusa?"